concrete foundation bites into the pads of your paws as you lope easily up the slope of a dilapidated wall, masonry chipping off twisted steel beams. You rise to a pinnacle of freedom, gazing down at the labyrinthine twists and turns of roads and alleyways that once played host to thousands of men and women going about their daily lives, blissfully unaware of the havoc the purge would one day reap. You cast an idle glance to the west, where you find the sun prepared to settle gently into a soft bed of cloud for the night. Good, there's still time, you think to yourself. You coil the muscles of your legs together tightly, springing with acrobatic grace to a higher platform, a leap that no human would have considered. From here the ruins of the great city spread out below you in intricate detail, and you idly fancy yourself a giant gazing over its dominion, with a faint sense of pride in a belonging lord of all your survey. Haven, the refuge is all you've ever known, from your birth in the squalor of a small waterfront apartment to this very moment, perched atop the ruinous hulk of a long-abandoned office building. Yours is the first generation of werewolves, born and raised in captivity, a stark contrast to the green wilderness and freedom your elders speak of in the hush of the evening as they huddle in groups around the fires to keep warm. You've seen trees before, struggling for life between the cracks of empty patches of roadway, scraggly bits of wood hardly worth mention. Let the elders lament the passing of the grey wilderness, your new breed of lupine explorer, having traded in the forests for an urban jungle of steel and concrete. Ugh. Without warning, the floor beneath your paws crumbles, sending you tumbling into a free fall, as quickly arrested by a bone-jarring crunch when you land on your back amid splinters of wood and stone. You manage to sound out a brief bark to alert your companions to your location before a cloud of blackness swallows up the sky and all becomes nothingness. Oh shit, are we dead? We gotta claw back the darkness. Falling. Is this truly how things happened, or is your mind playing tricks on you, trying to make a sense of its peril and projecting soft outlines of better times as you descend through the air in a helpless freefall? A recollection of a face looks at you through the blackness, concerned eyes blinking before vanishing in a gust of ethereal wind. You remember your mother in the vague sense that all children orphaned at a young age do. The touch of a loving hand, a few notes from a song hummed to lull you to sleep. That indefinable sense of belonging that only a parent can offer their child. It was important to her that you grew up with a strong sense of self. You read as much in the letters she left you after her passing. Your head is swimming. You've forgotten to wake up. Latch on your core being and climb it upward to the darkness. You think you hear your mother calling you. The Haven Wolves use only first names, as the pack is considered to be in one family despite differences of background. What name do you hear echoing through the void? Oh, okay. Helki viho amek sepatu fala kitan ska. Ska. I wanna go ska. Yes, that's right. Ska. How could you have forgotten? You can feel it now, something close to pain. Pain means you're getting closer to the surface. It helps you remember that you're still alive. Other things begin to come into focus as the black horizon turns to a milky gray. The more you recollect your sense of self, the faster the surface of consciousness rushes up to greet you. The elders claimed that you were a difficult child. So was I, in real life, really difficult. Always focus on whatever suited you best at the time, rather than the exacting standards werewolf society demands. In the long years following at your birth, you came to define yourself on your own, but others have a tendency to require more impersonal definitions. How do you peers within the pack see you? Within the pack see me? I'm gonna make our werewolf non-binary. Because I can. Your individuality is at the core of your being, and you've never felt that your sense of self necessarily conformed to the binary choice of he or she. I identify with neither of these sets of pronouns. Well, I'm gonna identify with female pronouns. In the Haven Pack, youths are mixed at an early age, leaving the pups to grow and learn as they see fit. Eventually, you grew old enough to consider romantic interests. Ooh. I never had strong physical attractions to any of my pack mates. Confident in myself, never had trouble asking out girls. Gender never mattered to me when it came to my attractions. I had a crush on a boy a few years back, but I never acted on my feelings. Ha! Same! I used to have a crush on someone. Like many youthful infatuations, we eventually went back to being friends. No, pursued a boy. What? Had a crush. Oh! I would have been single for a while now. I'm not really single. A wolf don't have to be single. Can you just... Okay. Just had a crush on a boy a few years back. Before long, you joined a school where you were allowed to choose a primary area of study. These studies defined your early experiences in the pack and helped you become the wolf you are today. Your mind grasped through the bubbling, murky waters, desperately close to consciousness. Which discipline did you spend most of your youth studying? Are we really thinking about this stuff while we're just floating in water, unconscious? Okay then, law and the role of human government, werewolf health anatomy, speech and debate. Yeah, no. Historic werewolf pack leaders and their techniques, self-defense, human technology and history. I'm gonna go with historic werewolf pack leaders. You were enamored with stories of the great pack leaders of the past, long years before the pack was relocated to the refuge of Haven. You hold up a deep admiration for Rautag, the great peacemaker, and Ayota, the wise woman who led the Wind River's pack to greatness for almost half a century. You grew strong will from your studies of what made them great leaders. We are awake at last. Your vision swoops into bleary focus, and you're greeted by a look of grave concern on a lupine muzzle, brown shaggy fur, and yellow eyes. It's Dina! You must have been the first to find you after you fell. Dina was always a sensitive pup. He took to a quiet life of study with the elders early on. The rough and tumble life of his packmates less interesting than learning about the world outside Haven's walls. Dina has always been there when you needed him, and you tried to do the same for him. Over the years, his affection for you has grown less and less subtle, but it remains an unspoken line as you're unwilling to cross, valuing your friendship over potential rejection. You're confident that whatever happens between the two of you, there won't be any ill feelings, even if you eventually drift apart and see less of each other. Oh, come on. Let your affection for Dana show. Come on. While you wouldn't say that you're head over heels in love, you feel a certain romantic connection with Dina. You get to the impression that he feels the same. One of these days you'll need to find the courage to tell him, provided he doesn't work up a nerve first. Dana looks away for a moment and waves a hand, beckoning the rest of your friends. Guys, she's over here. He looks back to you, his brow knit with worry. That was an awful fall. The elders would be furious if they knew you were taking risks like that, Ska. I'm sure they would have a good reason for wanting to keep us out of this snarl. He shakes his head. How did I let you guys talk me into this? Yeah, maybe we shouldn't have come here. Daniel nods, a slight look of relief washing over his face as he checks your wounds. Finally, someone talking sense. Pieces of loose concrete scatter in dusty clouds Lapu and Tiva around the corner of the old office building. The two wolves nudge each other and Lapu opens his muzzle in a wide-toothed grin. Looks like the snarls claimed another victim, Lapu jokes, tongue lolling from his mouth and he breathes hard. I still can't believe you got that high up before the building collapsed into your feet. He looks over at Dana. Leave it to Ska to risk exposing us out here in the snarl just to show off her agility. What if one of us the elders had seen up there? Dina wheels and snaps at Lapu, sending the gangly male skittering backward, tripping over a piece of rubble and landing on his rump with a puff of concrete dust. The youth's unusual blonde coat now peppered with gray. He wobbles to his feet as Dana continues examining your injuries. Tifa snickers at the boy, smacking his side and giggling as his fur lets off big puffs of dust. Dana finishes us up going over your wounds. In case you carry Lapu, your injuries are healing up just fine, so it looks like we'll still be able to make it to the bridge on time. Tifa sneezes and wipes a smudge of dust from her nose. Cute. You groan and get back to your feet, wincing as the knitting bones in your right knee click uncomfortably. Now, for the first time, you thank whatever gods reside above that you were born in with a werewolf's regenerative ability. The wolves of Haven can change their forms at will, but while your lupine body provides you with greater dexterity and healing, the form is difficult to maintain for you more than half a day at a time due to the massive increase in metabolism that fuels your abilities. Lapu snarls and spits on the ground. You should leave without her. The injury will only slow her down. Excuse me? I stand and run a lap around the plaza. Ignore the boy's taunting. Lapu's only acting out because his nerves are getting to him. I do my best to verbally smooth the situation and keep the keep the group on track. We'll do that. It's good to keep them on track. You roll your eyes for Dana's benefit, and he laughs behind his hand. Lapu's obviously nervous about the expedition, covering his for his insecurities by mocking you after your fall. You won't let it get to you. The group needs to be kept on track if you hope to reach the other side of the bridge and return before nightfall. You get to your feet and stretch your injured back and leg, groaning as muscles pop and finish knitting together. Come on, Lapu, you say soothingly. We're all nervous about this. The young wolf winces. You're right, of course. His nerves are getting to him. We need to get moving if we're going to get there and back on time. I won't lag behind. Lapu grumbles and kicks a paw through the dirt. Well, I guess. Good, you reply, clapping him on the shoulder. Let's go, then. Approach the bridge. The cube bridge is difficult to approach from concealment. The ruined buildings of the former city stop a good half-mile before the pavement even begins to rise. Having considered this, Tiva came up with a plan to access the bridge from the south side, hiding among charred scrap metal husks of the old oil containers that litter the coastline near the base of the bridge. When you reach the underside of the span, you take ropes from Tiva's backpack, each fastened to a grappling hook. Tiva worked in secret on the hooks for the past few weeks, smuggling them out of the machine shop when she works after closing hours. The ropes will allow you to bypass the checkpoint on this end of the bridge, although you still have to be lucky to avoid any patrolling guards. Here goes nothing, Tiva says with a grin as she tosses her hook upward. It latches against the inside of the bridge. Lucky toss, Lapu says as he attempts to replicate Tiva's throw, failing miserably time and again as the hook falls back to the ground with a dull thud. The boy looks over at you and Dina, but neither of you are doing much better. Can't we all just take the same rope up? He mutters despondently. I swear, Tiva says, you guys can do anything without my help. One by one, she tosses the hooks up into the tangle of steel beams underneath the bridge, cords of muscle straining on her arms. Unlike many other wolves your age, she bulked up during her long teenage years spent working in the forge. We need to stay together, she says. We can't have half of us sitting around for 10 minutes at the top of the bridge waiting to get caught while the rest of you take your time climbing. Hey, Ska, Tiva calls over to you. Let's make this fun. I'm in the mood for a game. If I can get to the top of the rope first, you'll cover my shift at the machine shop tomorrow. You raise an eyebrow. And if I win? She mutters. How about I owe you a favor? You can cash it in any time. Nothing huge, mind you, but I'll owe you one. You shrug your shoulders. It sounds fair enough to you. You've never really minded the machine shop anyway. You look upward at the ropes as they gently swing in the breeze. It's a long climb, and it's been a while since you've practiced. Still, though, you shouldn't have a problem getting to the top. The question is, can you beat Tiva? Slow and steady wins the race. Go with that. You start off strong, grunting as you haul yourself hand over hand up. Monolith on the other side of the landing. No humming, no crackle of electricity. Let's go for it. Okay. Try for the first time. Investigating fancy. Get it late. Music. Dull conversation. Unsurprisingly, Dina decides to join you on the quest for you come to a building you've pictured in here now. Since Sage, I hope, mentioned it in one of his lectures. There it is, Dina said under his breath. Excitement evident, even though it's in Denver Hall. Imagine got a pot to hold Dina. He's about to head out. Silhouettes of ah, oh, knock them out. On your plan, but a shiver of fear running down his arm and into you, causing your fur to. You hold a finger to your lip, near toward the door, and focus on the building. Let's keep moving. Back out into the hallway, closing the door behind me. The building is filled with you toward the nearest shelves while you move in the opposite direction. You each find several books covering topics ranging from the studies of the paranormal, which includes a lengthy dissertation on werewolves, and something called a vamp. find your companions right where they're supposed to be, patiently waiting for you to arrive by the southeast corner, hidden among a cluster of rusted barrels whose contents have long since been drained away by the human's machinery. Tina fidgets anxiously while Dina's head swivels left and right as though he expects the group would be discovered any moment. So, one last bit of exploration where we throw in a towel, Lipu says, nodding toward a small door on the eastern side of the warehouse. It's way too late to chicken out, guys. Not that you would, the warehouse is the subject of many and varied tales among the werewolf youth, all of which are exciting and mysterious. Claims of vast wealth, macabre horrors, and experimental weapons are just the tip of the popular speculation iceberg. No. Okay, I didn't want to explore it, but I guess we have to. You caution the others to keep quiet and low to the ground before heading into the warehouse. The four of you emerge into a large room partitioned off from the rest of the building by corrugated metal walls. The room is filled with piles of scrap metal in varying states of disrepair, most of it covered with rust. Not a promising start. Crouched behind one of the piles, you discover a narrow hallway leading down along the length of the warehouse. Waving the others forward, you travel through the side passage for several minutes before you hear something that sounds disturbingly like a moan of pain. Tiva elbows you. Why'd you stop? Listen, you say. She cocks an ear and grimacing at what she overhears. I don't like the sound of it, she says, but we can't stop now. I need to know what's going on in here. Dina whimpers from the back as you start moving again. This time you're more cautious. Your movements deliberate while keeping to the pads of your feet. Eventually, the corridor's wall disappears, replaced by a large rectangular opening at chest level, which might once have been a window before the walls of the warehouse were expanded. Crawling underneath the gap, the four of you hear a cacophony of strange and terrible sounds that will haunt your dreams for years to come. If you live that long, that is. You have to know, and it appears that you're not alone. As one, the four of you slowly raise your eyes to the window. Uh-oh. Madness. Sheer madness. Strange scenes torn from your darkest nightmares are arrayed about the adjoining room in a splattered mishmash of the macabre, where every semblance of what is right and good in your world is snuffed out at once. Whimpers and dull moans of pain permeate the air as humans dressed all in white go about a deadly dance, a ritual of flesh and surgical instruments. Your eyes locked into a long, twisting tube of clear plastic slowly filling with dark red liquid. Your mind tries desperately to escape the terrible truth. They're killing them, aren't they? Dina whispers brings you back to reality, and you shake your head, blinking rapidly. I don't think so. This is something worse. The humans in no way regenerate. You return to gaze to the window, drawn by morbid fascination as you watch more than half the adults of your pack suffer at the hands of human doctors. Bone saws hack and scalpels slice, testing the limits of werewolf physiology, and suffering, barely waiting for the wounds to heal before attacking again with detached, business-like efficiency. So this is the great secret that the elders have been keeping from you all these years. Could these inhuman experiments have been going on week after week without your knowledge? Of all the revelations you were excited to discover, this is the very last thing you expected to find. Oh God, Stina groans, pointing at a werewolf on a nearby table. Is that Lapu's father? An acrid stench brings your attention back to the side of the window, and you realize that Lapu has pissed himself. Oh God. We have to get out of here. We have to get out. The boy mumbles again and again in a mantra of fear or revulsion. You find yourself nodding in agreement, and you will your legs to move again, slowly creeping back to the door you came through with the others trailing behind. You reach the exit without being spotted, utterly relieved that you didn't create a major disturbance before coming to the warehouse. It's impossible to know what the humans are capable of at this point. They are incapable of very horrible things. The four of you flee the warehouse, your fear-urging speed of tired leg muscles that you never knew you had. Your heart feels as though it's about to burst as you round a corner halfway back to the bridge. You almost ran straight into a lone soldier who looks as surprised to see you as you are to him. Don't move! Stay right where you are! A combination of nerves and fear creases the grizzled soldier's forehead, collecting small pools of sweat as he steps towards you and your friends. His hands tremble despite the fact that they hold a semi-automatic rifle. Hey. We seen something horrible, and our world is never the same again. And that concludes Chapter 1. I am going to leave this episode here. Oops, my finger's in the way. And I will pick up the next chapter in another video. This is a Werewolves of Haven, I think that's what it's called. It's a pretty good game. I like werewolves. Vampires suck. No pun intended. I like werewolves more. I'm not sure about you guys, but I would love to know your opinions in the comments. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.